The Master has been one of Doctor Who's most iconic villains for decades, a cunning and sadistic foil to the Doctor, driven by equal parts malice, arrogance, and a twisted desire for dominance. Whether it was Roger Delgado's charming, moustache-twirling tactician, Anthony Ainley's delightfully theatrical schemer, or even John Sims' manic, destructive madman, the Master always stood as one of the great villains of the series. But then came Missy. Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Daemon, and today we're talking about Missy, a character I don't consider a master at all. This isn't just a gripe about a needless gender swap, though let's be honest, that's exactly what it was. The bigger issue is that Missy doesn't feel like the Master. In fact, she has more in common with the Rani than she ever did with the Doctor's arch-enemy. She's more vicious when it comes to the Doctor's friends. She's obsessed with dabbling in the human mind. And she has a cruelty to her that feels detached from the Master's usual brand of villainy. If they had introduced her as the Rani, it would have made far more sense. Instead, she takes the place of a female Time Lord villain that could have returned, and because audiences now associate female renegade Time Lord with Missy, the Rani's chances of ever making a proper comeback are slim to none. Missy, as a character, is pointless as the Master. Instead of being the central antagonist of her stories, she's constantly relegated to a supporting role, flanked by the Daleks and Cybermen. Sure, the Master often teamed up with other villains in classic Doctor Who, but those alliances felt like partnerships of convenience. Both the Master and whoever he worked with had their own ambitions. Delgado's Master and the Autons, Ainley's Master and the Cybermen, even Sims' Master and the Toclophane. The Master always shared the spotlight, but never ceded it. Missy, on the other hand, is constantly overshadowed. In Darkwater, she's sharing screen time with the Cybermen. In The Magician's Apprentice, she's standing next to Davros and the Daleks. And then there's World Enough and Time, where not only is she splitting villain duties with the Cybermen again, but she's also forced to share the stage with another version of the Master, making her even less distinct. She never has the chance to stand on her own. And when she's not sharing the spotlight, she's being softened into some redemption arc nonsense that turns her into a secondary character rather than the major threat she should have been. That's not the character we fell in love with. And it certainly isn't the Master. One of the biggest indicators that Missy should have been the Rani instead comes from her treatment of those around her. Take her most memorable moment, killing Osgood. Upon their very first meeting, she ruthlessly murders a character who had all of the makings of a potential companion, seemingly for no reason other than to make a point. Sound familiar? Because it should. In The Mark of the Rani, the first thing the Rani wanted to do to Peri upon meeting her was drain her of the power to sleep, something she had already done to countless other humans. The Rani's attitude toward human suffering was completely detached, treating them as little more than a resource to exploit for her own benefit. When the Doctor confronted her about her actions, she shrugged it off as a minor inconvenience for the victims. That level of casual cruelty, that's exactly what Missy embodies. Look at Luke Ward, another potential companion, or at least a significant side character. What did she do to him? Turned him into a tree. A tree, just like the Rani, she played with human lives as though they were nothing, showing complete indifference to the consequences. Rani VO. Oh, stop being sentimental. What's happened? Animal matter has been metamorphosed into vegetable matter. So what, Dr. You'll be telling me next he's better off. Rani VO. As a matter of fact, he is. A tree has 4 times the life expectancy of a human being. That is the Rani. So why wasn't she the Rani? Instead of bringing back a unique villain with her own history, they forced her into the role of the Master, completely missing what made the character special in the first place. The Master should be the villain, not the sidekick to another major threat. Even in her most infamous moment, killing a pseudo-companion in Osgood, it still feels more in line with what the Rani would do rather than the Master. The Rani had no interest in ruling the universe or playing mind games with the Doctor. She was a scientist, immoral and self-serving, but not inherently destructive like the Master. Missy's entire arc, from her introduction to her forced redemption, feels like exactly the kind of role the Rani would have fit into perfectly, making her entire existence feel redundant. So what was the point? If they wanted a female renegade Time Lord, the Rani was right there. If they wanted to reimagine the Master, they should have at least let her be a villain in her own right, instead of constantly playing second fiddle, but no. Instead, we got a version of the Master that feels like a forced merger of two completely different characters, taking elements of the Master's history and shoving them into a framework that fits far better with the Rani. The result? A character that doesn't fully work as either. She has the Master's name but not the same presence, the same rivalry or the same ambition. At the same time, she has all the Rani's cold detachment and cruelty toward humans, but is stripped of the scientific curiosity that made the Rani stand out. What we're left with is a character that exists in an awkward limbo, lacking the full impact of either villain and ultimately feeling like a miscast imitation of both. Thanks for dropping by the Snake Pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell like the video, and leave your opinions in the comments, where naturally I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.